everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Lift Tower, a fans podcast about Northampton Saints by fans for fans. My name's Charles McGilvray, and as always, I'm joined by Jess Kebble and Simon Stacey. How are you both doing? Or should I say bonjour?
Bonjour. I'm all right, mate. Thanks.
Good. Yeah, it was a big, long, heavy weekend away in Paris for at least two of us. But yeah, it was a hell of a game to some extent.
Yeah, I should imagine that people watching it from a neutral perspective, it was 80 points, was it, on the board, like between the two, 45, 35, yeah. So, it doesn't get better from kind of a neutrality perspective, not so much from our perspective, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think a big part of it going into the game is, we obviously saw the team sheet, which was just interesting. And then, Smith went downhill on the train as well. And so you got to look at that side and go, sitting down the side of the pitch, watching from, I know Stade Francais aren't the best side in the world, etc., but they are at home. And then you look, there's probably 5 players in that Saints team that normally you wouldn't say are being considered maybe as to be in the side on a regular basis, and then a number of players haven't played a lot or whatever. So from that point of view, it was very interesting. But it's also, from that point of view, it was even more interesting that we shot into a 21-0 lead.
Yeah. I was a bit shocked by the selection, but I suppose Dowse knows what he's doing. We still qualify.
Well, you should. The injury list is so long; they didn't have a choice.
Well, yeah.
Some of those positions, there was literally there's no alternative in some of them. Like,
you look at the missing list, no Manny, no Coles, no Timo, no Munger, no Augustus, no Dingwall, no Slyto, no Thurbs, no Hendy, and then no Smith as well. They're all,
and even some of your kind of second choice sort of venture people, some of them were missing as well. Like you said, for a while we've had no Sam Graham, we've had no Robbie Smith. Like, you just add them all onto that list already.
Yeah.
But I was very surprised when we went 21-0 up. To be honest, it was a great 20 minutes. Yes. It was, if we'd played like that for 80, I don't know what the score would have been. But something happened on 20 minutes, and it went very wrong really from that moment on. A couple of individual errors that kind of let them back in. Like the Hutchison charge down was the key moment for me. Like, it gave them the belief that they could get back into the game, and they took it, they ran with it, and we just got. I think it does come back to who we didn't have, because really the only way I can kind of describe it is that we were just bullied off the park for 60 minutes. Like, up front, we just couldn't manage. And it just all went wrong after that moment, really, after 20 minutes. We got a point, which could end up being really crucial. Like, if we get 5 points against Munster at home this weekend, we top the pool. We can't be caught from that perspective. So that could end up being a really crucial point there. Obviously, if we only get 4 points, we're then in the mix with 2 teams who are on 10. So getting 4 tries could have ended up being really, really crucial. But yeah, I think it just all told in the end, didn't it? That it wasn't the team that we would normally have, and certain things just went, like the line out was a mess. It was a mess from both players. It was a mess from Walker, and then it was a bit messy from Langdon as well. And not necessarily that it's just their fault. It didn't seem like it was being called very well. Weren't making the right decisions as to who to throw. I don't know what the player's name was, because I don't know Stade Francais' team very well, but one of their line-up jumpers must have stole 3 or 4 of them. I was like, stop throwing to the player that's behind him, because you're just going to lose the ball at that point.
Tom Lockett's going to have nightmares with Makalou in his dreams, isn't he? Like, it's one of those ones where it's going to be a real learning curve for Tom Lockett, because they had a big squad, right? They weren't necessarily the best or anything like that. Makalou is a phenomenal athlete, and they should be throwing against him. They should be looking to throw elsewhere, because he when he came on, he absolutely tore our line apart. But Lockett will be a better player for that experience.
The problem you have is, I think they're a false position in the French league. Some of their players are insane. they're just not playing well, and they just seem to turn up against us in the second, not that 60 minutes of the match. But yeah, it was. We played who we could play. Like you said, we're so stretched. There's players out of position, and to be fair, 21-0 up. The Henry Pollock show again, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That little snatch was amazing where he just grabbed it and they were like, where the hell's he going? And he's just
I was absolutely in my mind, like, because everyone was just watching him run, I was like, surely it's going to get called back. I was like, something must have happened. And he obviously knew that it hadn't, because he just kept running. But everyone else was just watching him. And I was like, oh, it's going to get called back from someone. And then the ref just followed him and gave the try. And I was like, oh.
Even their players, when he just grabs it off the player, he runs past 3 of them. They're going, where's he going? It was hilarious, but yeah.
I think the start
it was an insane game, really.
Yeah, I think the start's a really good bit to focus on, right? Because we came out like just guns blazing, playing. We were just outworking them. It's like we came with a tempo and an attitude just to run and work and work and work. Like we were our forwards getting around the corners before their forwards had even started moving. Like they weren't even getting off the feet when we were ready to go. When Lockett scored his try, like the gaps on that side of the pitch were just enormous. If it didn't go to Lockett, it could have gone to about 3 or 4 players across the pitch because they just weren't working as hard as us. We outworked them. Whether the fact that a lot of these players who played, and I think a lot of them did really well regardless, right? But a lot of them haven't played a lot of 80-minute matches. Maybe that's when the momentum started to shift against us. Maybe they didn't have quite the energy levels to keep up because the 20 minutes was electric. Like Mitchell was a flame. Hutch was in his element. He was pulling the strings phenomenally well. And they looked how good they could be. Ed Prowse was putting it around for the stage, really. Like to come in to play second row, having started out only converted at the beginning of the season in that position. They've only played at a championship level, and then to go away to Paris, and that affected the line out as well. Having Prowse in there is probably not as used to being lifted and all this sort of stuff. Maybe it gives you had Emily as an option. They threw Pollock up there at one point. So there's a lot of factors that went into that line-out piece, but the start was tremendous. And like you said, that charge down.
Yeah,
that was 2 weeks.
Turning point, but it was the turning point. You just think, oh no, and then it wasn't good. But that's the thing. He's one of them. He's on the edge of a play, isn't he? He's on the edge all the time. One little flick and he scores a try. One little flick or kick, and then we concede one. So that's the type of player he is. And
Hutchinson's one of my favourite players in the squad, right? Because he's so talented. If you've got a level of all the players, and they've got 10 categories of determination of they're 8 out of 10 at this and 9 out of 10 out of this, right? A lot of our players will probably be 6 across the board and a few 8s and 9s, and Hutchinson is like 11 on some categories. He is just sensational at certain elements, but then there's certain elements where he's probably a 4 or 5. And I love him in the side. I love him at centre, but I don't think he's a consistent player that when you want to align him as a kicking option. Because
I said it. I think I've said it before about him that, and I know that there are questions of a lack of experience for Makepeace Cubitt, but we should have put a 10 on the pitch and we should have had Hutchison in the centre. And I've said it before, and I'll probably always say it. As talented as he is, when you think about some of the other experienced people that they put in the team, you can't really use the excuse of his lack of experience to not use him there. Like he is like GMC. We're gonna say GMC because it's easier. He is a 10, and I think Hutchison would have been able to do more of his magic at 12 instead of. That's nothing against Zavala. I don't think Zavala was bad. I don't think he was good. I think it was just kind of average. I think we should have had an actual 10 on the pitch, and I think we should have had Rory where he works best, which, like you said, is the centre. Especially when you've taken George Makepeace Cubitt, the times that he's played, he's put in some really good shifts. He's probably just stuck there wondering sort of what he has to do. Like it didn't feel like we so desperately needed to have Zavala on there that we couldn't have had Rory at 12 and still have him on the pitch. Because like you said, it's some of the things that he does in that 10 role, which is where he scores on the kind of lower end of the scale. Like whenever he's trying to put kicks through, it's not. I don't know. I I'm not saying it would have changed the outcome of the game. I still think we got bullied massively up front. I think we just looked for sort of 60 minutes. We looked second best. Like I don't come away from it thinking like we should have won, because at the end of the day we had 20 minutes where we were better and 60 where we didn't. So the maths just means that we shouldn't have won. I was expecting at one point to be them to have run away with it really badly, but somehow we, clawing it back to kind of 10 points in it would have been lovely if we'd been able to get an extra bonus point out of it, maybe. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? Like the injuries have caught up with us, and I think there was a media session today, wasn't there, that Hendy is still a serious doubt for this weekend, so we aren't going to have him. I can't think of who else they said was a serious doubt as well, and then Coles and Timo are still, that was it. And Coles and Timo are still going through the return to play protocols. That just takes however long that takes. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think they said that Ferbs is on course for like mid-March, so we're still going to be without him for. And obviously, we've got Six Nations coming up anyway, and we wouldn't have had him, so it doesn't really make much difference for that period of time. But yeah, like I said, it was just that kind of lack of experience and lack of game time. It's not just a lack of game time; it's also game time in another country against a big French team. Like it's like an extra step above lack of game time in the Prem, for example. It really did tell in the end. So I actually think they did a really good job to get 35 points on the board.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with you, but I'm not sure about George, because he probably hasn't trained, has he? I know he would have trained against them, so it was last minute. I'm guessing, Finn, was it like, because I would have done exactly that. I would have put him in and put Hutch at centre, because he's not a 10. We know he's not a 10, but
yeah, I think Finn.
No, I've had a problem putting him in, and not at all, because he looked decent in the 2 games or 3 games he played there. But it's just last minute dropout. You sort of think Hutch has trained all week, so we can slip him in. Whereas I'm
assuming based on things that they've said before, though, is that all of them do train together and they train.
Yeah, but I mean, like
train roughly.
The team.
But I'm assuming. Yeah, but I'm assuming that GMC must have always been the travelling reserve, because Finn literally he went and he was fine, and then he got ill really quickly. So Makepeace Cubit must have already been. He would have already been there irrespective, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm guessing that during the week they trained with the opportunity of, if Smith goes off injured, this is what we do, and it'd be Savala off the bench, Hutch to 10, right? And that would have been the decision that they'd made. And GMC was probably running opposition attack against them all week rather than training within the system. So they would have gone, right, scenario, what happens if Smith comes off? This is the setup. And they just went with that setup essentially from the start.
Yeah.
So I get why they did that, because that's probably what they've been running.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. So they practiced their game plans, their set plays and everything. He would have been just the defense, like the running against. So to drop him in it last minute and go, I don't know what the play.
Definitely. But I think
he would have made a better job. I would think. I agree with.
But like you said, they need if I think that game just showcases if that is what they would do in a normal situation, then they need to change that setup, don't they? They need to be getting. At the end of the day, they brought him in because we need a proper backup 10. And I've even said this over Furbank, who I think is a better 10 than Hutchison. I still always think that you want to keep Furbank at your fullback and have a proper 10. That's always just my personal opinion of it's a very specific role. And, Hutchison is a centre. As much as he can cover those areas and he does it when it's necessary, he doesn't have his best games at 10 or 15. He consistently has his best games at 12.
Yeah, I agree. I think you've got to ask the question: would it have been fair to drop JMC into that position? Probably not. He's a young 19, 20-year-old kid. He wouldn't have trained in those systems all week to then go, right, you're in. I think wouldn't have been fair on him at all. I think they probably made the right decision to go with.
They would have made the right decision based on what they would have done during the week. My question is just, do you need to change up what you're doing in the week to cover for
the trade?
No, you can't preempt someone being ill, but with the kind of way that Vin Smith plays, you can certainly preempt that he might get himself injured.
Yeah, I mean, he's played a lot of minutes. I think obviously the concussion injury or the eye injury that he went off with, but otherwise he's generally back him to play 80 minutes, and he generally has. I think Yeah, I think the thing is, I don't think it's right to necessarily jump all over Hutchinson on this, right? Because
Oh
he had
no, no, no,
one bad charge down,
Oh
right?
no, we're not. No,
Which
we're not. I don't mean that.
I do
no.
think, I don't think his out of hand kicking, he's got the technical skill for it, but I think
Yeah,
he's been charged down a number of times over
Yeah,
a number of years, right? And therefore, I don't, you don't really want him in those positions too often.
he's a
Um,
ball
yeah,
in hand. He's a ball in hand fly
yeah,
half. If you're going to play him at fly half, he's not a kicking fly half. So he's not he's not really a kicking 12, is he?
and I think sometimes his ability to grasp the game and make management decisions of the game are sometimes a little bit. He plays with the desire to attack, and he's non-stop attack, and he wants to move the ball to space, and he wants to be aggressive with his decision making. But I think to the Coventry game away, when he was on the pitch, and I expected him to be the senior player on that side because he was a senior player. He's a senior player in the squad. He's got the oldest club number, isn't he? He's the most senior, and I'd have expected him to make more management decisions on that game. It's the end of the first half. You're underneath the post. It's miserable. Drop back in the pocket and take 3 points. Those sort of decision things, which Finn Smith is world class at. It's fair to say Hutchinson doesn't have. That's not his game.
yeah,
And that's probably what we missed in that game. We probably missed someone making those decisions at the right times, etc. Because Mitchell
yeah,
did an awful lot, and I think as much as the charge down on that was big in the momentum, I think the biggest momentum shift was Mitchell's yellow card.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, definitely. They scored 3 tries when he was on.
Yeah. Because yes, we were on the back foot a bit, but we were still in the contest.
Yeah.
Mitchell leaves, and we
yeah,
really looked rudderless. And yes, we were played down and all that, but yeah,
It's the
he
same as the Bath game, though, wasn't it? When we got when he went off and they brought on Archie. We needed a scrum half.
yeah.
Needed a scrum half, and that saved the game basically because you need scrum half there because that is a very unique position. Is there any position on the pitch? Scrum half is that position.
Touches the ball, makes more decisions than any other player on the pitch.
Exactly.
So it's crucial,
Yep.
right? So he was sort of holding us together and playing well, and then yellow card, and it all sort of fell apart. But I don't think it was all.
yeah,
I don't think I don't think it was all really bad performances. I thought there was a lot of really good in there as well. And I know I don't think the forwards were particularly. I thought set piece wise, in terms of scrum, we were pretty solid. The line out was a disaster. There's no way to look past it, right? And there are certain instances in that game where had our line up functioned, it would have given us a foothold in their 22 or foothold in their half, which we could have built on.
yeah,
Brought the momentum back in the game, but we didn't. So therefore, they got the momentum back, and we kept losing those momentum periods. And I think if our line out had a function, we probably well could have won that game. That's because I think we weren't that far off, really. And I thought a lot of the players played pretty well. Pollock, for me,
I mean,
was outrageously good.
It just gets better and better.
Yeah.
I think the one of the commentaries I heard on the highlights, I think when I watched it back, was he missed an opportunity. I think it was like crash bang wallop. I think we should coin the phrase crash bang Pollock. I think because I think he was just, but his finish as well. Like he could have just dotted it down, but he elected to run about 4 foot into the pitch to get contact. That's the right thing to go to the player and go outwards, but he won the contact. So yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Would you not have? I'm not dissing Ed Prowse's performance, but would you not have played Angus at lock like we have before, and maybe just started Pearson, or unless they're giving him a rest, just because he's played there and he's a lot more experienced. That's all I'm just thinking.
I also feel like we missed what Pearson can give us in terms of just how physical he is as well.
I think that's probably why best, to be fair, because he has had some big games, hasn't he?
Yeah. It's probably why, like I said, I think it really is just a combination of just, it's why in a way it's kind of a good, I suppose, a positive that we're not too far away from the Six Nations because everybody gets a bit of a rest and a recharge because we've really hit that kind of, and based on who we're probably not going to have available this weekend as well, we're really having to reach into those kind of reserves, as it were.
guessing the decision to go with Prowse over Angus Scott Young is a set piece decision. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the body shape, you look at size, look at the history of Prowse playing prop. You know, you stick him behind Davison, and you probably got a pretty rock solid. And the scrum went well.
Yeah.
And they might have been thinking, you know, the scrum's going to be a big factor. We need to get, you know, a proper bit of weight in that tight five. Prowse came in, and I think he did that. The scrum was solid. It was good. I thought Tarek Clark also played really well.
I was going to say
nightmare. Well, you haven't really you've got him there for the weight in the scrum, but you haven't got him. He's not like you said. He's only just started this year. Turning a prop into a lock is quite a hard thing to do. But that's all I meant. The line out was a disaster. So having Angus there with Pearson there, you've got more options. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I get it. But then you look at the options that they did have as jumpers. You've still got. You've got Lockett, who's a great line-out jumper. You've got Kemeny, who's a great line-out jumper. Angus Scott Young is an option, and then they use Pollock as an option as well. So you've still got four jumpers there. I think unfortunately the occasion, the quality of the opposition, and the sort of the experience Lockett's not got yet was the factor. You know, I think especially a Hooker who's only been in the environment. Weeks. I think Lockett calling the lineouts there probably wasn't calling it as best as he could and can. He sort of had a mare in those decisions, and that's what cost.
You also have to add in as well. Stade Francais like recent form has not been good. You know, like 13th out of 14 in the top 14. Like, I think for them it was a case of the English champions are coming. Like, this is the time to kind of give our fans something to actually kind of cheer about, because it wasn't anywhere near a sellout. I think it was about 6,000 short. There were so many of us, and so I don't know if it's a kind of a struggle for Stade Francais fans at the moment to kind of get into it a bit. So I feel like you kind of add in kind of they're a bit of a bruised team in terms of what their performances have been like, and that was the one, almost like us with Bath, like the week before, with kind of how we'd been playing. That was a really big marker for us, like a win that we really, really needed to like hopefully move the team forward, and it felt like that for Stad as well. But once they got a foothold on it, there was just a complete reluctance to let that slip in any way, shape or form. And actually we really did start getting back into it, but you know, we had that, I think with like 12 or 13 minutes to go, we then got the Kemeny yellow card. That killed any momentum that we had built trying to get back into it. You know, there was a genuine chance that, you know, 10 points down, a chance of, you know, we've got 12 minutes, we could still do this here at that point. And then And then we had that yellow card, which really confused me, because I couldn't really, obviously we were watching there, so I didn't have access to the ref, but obviously they're watching it on the screen, and there was a Kemeny late hit and then the very high tackle, and I couldn't figure out what it was they were looking at. And I thought it was for the high tackle around the neck, and then Kemeny went off, and I was like, what? And then I saw obviously that he had
it wasn't that
and
high.
then saw he had the late tackle before.
Kemeny's tackle was he tried to defend it. There's no way. He literally just went shoulder straight into him.
The thing, there's 2 points there. Like one, the Callum Hunter-Hill tackle. Wait, that wasn't high, right?
It wasn't high. No.
He reached over. It was like a seatbelt tackle that wasn't a seatbelt tackle.
Yeah.
Shoulder, and then Makalou went down and stayed down as if he'd right. The thing is, it was so fun. It's so ironic because of the Lawrence thing the week before. Right?
Yeah.
The whole thing replayed itself, and then the outcome was completely different, right? Because the high shot, right, and the player went down and held his head as if he'd been shot, and he wasn't. That was embarrassing. That was joke. Like, same. We can just take the conversation we had about Lawrence the week before. Insert, right? But the off the ball shoulder tackle, right? Also identical to the Ollie Lawrence tackle on George Hendy last week.
Yeah.
And yet this one, yellow card.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, especially for our captain, what a dumb thing to do. That just all round, you know, all round the kind of thing.
You know about the game, but I actually think the referee didn't have a bad game at all. I think he refed it pretty well, and he was quite clear. I don't think he missed that much.
I mean, it's hard to tell from where, like I said, I don't even have a ref link or anything like that, so it seemed like a good game. There was one thing at one point where I think Ram kicked it, and they were all convinced it was out on the full. Everybody was booing, or the players gesticulating, and then it's on the screen, and we're like, use your eyes. Like
I saw that. Like, so I saw when I saw it live. Now he's easily in. His foot's on the line. It's easy, right? And then all the Saints fans around me were like, "Oh, we got away with that one." I'm like, look at it. His foot's clearly on
we
the
said
line.
the same thing. We saw it up there, and like it's on the line, and like the ref has even said, and he's obviously asked the TMO at that point, right? Because all the players are getting on, and he's obviously has it confirmed to him that it was like. And it's just like, but no, it seemed like a.
If I'm being honest with you, but he was consistently poor.
Oh, you thought he was poor? I didn't.
Yeah, I thought his refereeing and the breakdown was so. But then that is how they do it in Europe.
Yeah,
right? It's a different way of doing it, but like the off your feet, in from the side, not releasing, not rolling away. I mean, that was just ridiculous. They got a penalty when we were on their line. We took a line out in the 22, got basically onto their line, and then they got a penalty for us holding on, but we couldn't ruck out because they had two players the wrong side of the ruck, right? That should have been a penalty try almost. Like we couldn't, to reward the player who's got over Jacqueline. That wouldn't be the case in the Prem. The Prem is so hot on not rolling away.
That's the problem, isn't it? That's why all referees ref it differently in different things. That's where they all need to come together and just have one rule book. This is what we were talking about the other day. It's just silly.
Like the difference. So we talked last week, didn't we? We talked last week about how long you get to kick, and about how it's like 90 seconds and 60 seconds, but in Europe it's 60 and 60. And so when they was taking the conversions, it was 60 seconds. And I was just like, no wonder nobody can follow up on everything. It's different between different competitions. Rules are coming in mid-season. So one of the new rules that's in now is obviously like as a 9 in a scrum, you can't cross the centre line of a scrum. So as a 9, you can no longer actually put any pressure on the opposite side of a scrum. Which I'm not I'm not usually pro Austin Healey, generally speaking. But he was talking about it in a Prem game, and he was like, "You're just going to destroy the game. Like they're so obsessed with the game having to be quick, and everything happening all at once that you just take out the actual competition elements of it." Like he said, it's a fundamental aspect of a 9 to basically get all up in the grill of your 9 opposite you in something like a scrum. You're supposed to put them off, and now I think I'm assuming that has come in. I don't know if it has come in Europe yet, but I'm sure at one point
comes in with this. I think.
To be fair, I'm pro that rule because I hate scrum halves that do that. It just really annoys me because the way they feed them now, it goes back to the 8 anyway, and they're like trying to get in the face, and the referee's like, "No, 9, you're offside. Get back. Just stay there."
No, I think it's a horrible rule. The whole point of a scrum is a big ass contest, right? It's a contest between two teams, and the 9s are a fundamental aspect of that. But even if it's not just that rule on its own, it's these rules that keep coming in that are just reducing the elements of competition because they just want the game to be speedy. We love a fast game. Northampton work on a fast game. We always have done, like at least in the past sort of few years. But you just want there to actually be competition for it,
You got to earn the right to play fast. Like the old rule, you got to earn the right to go wide. It's the same. You got to earn the right to play fast. But if you take away the ability for a scrum half to influence the delivery off the back of a scrum, right, all you're doing is giving perfect delivery to the attacking team. It's already hard enough to defend. Like all you're doing is make like blindside moves are basically now just tries because you can't stop the ball at all. So if you get an overlap, it's a try. Like these are incredible athletes, incredibly skillful players. They're not going to kill a 2-on-1, and so all you're doing is creating easy tries for teams, which you don't want because it's circumstance. Oh, a player knocks the ball on in their 22. All right, so that's a try, is it? Like you need contest at every aspect of the game, but also the point Austin Healey made in that game as well was all it does is this whole premise of rugby is a game for all shapes and all sizes. Well, why have someone who's Danny Care's size if they're under no pressure? Just get a big bloke in there who can pass the ball half decent because he can influence the rest of the game in other ways. And you don't have to be that good a passer because you're protected non-stop. Like the idea of Alex Mitchell was phenomenal getting in and get the ball out. Right, they can't put pressure on him because he's too good. If you're not as good as him, you get more pressure put on you.
I think the reason I think they're doing it though is because certain scrum halves take liberties. So they're just trying to just step that back. Whereas you see some like they're trying to stick their leg up. I get why they've done it. It's only a trial though, isn't it? It's not gonna.
Well, no, I think it's already been trialed. It's been trialed else. They trial them all down under, don't they? Typically, and then bring them up after. I think like the Aussies and things in particular seem to be the guinea pigs for all these kinds of things. And then
it's because it's earlier in the season and they start their season
exactly
in January, so it works. But the other thing as well is like that's just for me. That's just good number 8 play, right? So creating space for your 9 is a role of the 8 at the base of the scrum. Right.
Yeah.
If you don't have to, you can just stick anyone at 8, can't you? You don't have to have any skills at 8 to play 8. Because you don't have to work the angles to give you this 9 protection.
9, yes, but you protect.
You don't have to bother about trying to keep it. Make sure it's really in
the when pushing forward. You only say that if your forwards are winning the scrum, though. If you're going backwards, you've got to have some skills.
If you're going backwards, you don't, because the 9's not under pressure. You just roll it through, and the 9 can pick it up without anyone near him.
But how many scrums do you see the feed go straight to the second row? You know they do. So there's no real need for hookers either. Then.
Yeah, but you're right. Well, the rule now is you can feed, but it has to be hooked. Right. So that's the rule.
Yeah, it still has to be hooked. Yeah. Right. But so, it no longer has to be this dead straight thing in the.
Yeah, it no longer has to be a contest, but it has to be hooked, right?
So that's stupid. You're taking the scrum out of the game. You should go straight down the middle, and the 2 hookers go to hook. That's how I used to play. You've got a hook for the ball. Feed it behind. That's one rule you should bring back in straight away. It's stupid. What's by having a scrum? What's the point?
Yeah, I get that, but you know what's the scrums are going to become like rugby league scrums anyway because the 9 can literally feed it to the hooker. The hooker knocks it back. And because the opposition scrum half can't go past the halfway, the ball can come flying out the back of the scrum, and it doesn't matter. There's no one there to get on the ball.
Yeah,
you can just kick it out, run around, pick it up.
The rule has always been that as long as the 9 is, behind the back foot, like keeps himself onside, he can basically do what he likes, and that was always a good thing because you had. It's not necessarily really a huge Alex Mitchell thing, but there are other 9s where. Watching that kind of fight between the 2 of them is actually kind of an exciting part of the game of who's going to kind of, watching a little bit of a scrap in there to see who's going to kind of come out on top. But like I said, it didn't just becomes, I mean, it'd be lovely for us because we love to get the ball up. It probably won't make a huge amount of difference to us, but it does make it a little bit harder. Like you said, it's just free ball out to an attacking team's backline, is it? But
why even have a scrum half if you're not going to pass the ball, right? So just get the biggest man on the pitch, get him to feed the scrum, pick it up unopposed at the back of the scrum, bash up. Like it's such a fundamental. It's whether the rule makers understand the consequences of the decisions they're making, because the teams will go, well, why don't we just do this then? And they'll just shortcut because they're about winning. They want to find a way to win, and they'll just shortcut the game and make it work for them.
It feels like some of the rules are kind of incongruous with each other. So you have the one of when you're now, a ball goes up in the air and 2 players are going to compete, you can't be in that area anymore, right? So that's trying to encourage competition. We're not bopping players off by basically disrupting their line to the ball. So in one way they seem to want to increase competition, get 2 players up there. We start to see a lot of those kind of a lot more competition and kind of slapbacks of the balls to like their own team because they've got kind of free competition. And then in other aspects, we're trying to kind of limit it. And it just feels like a really weird thing to do in a scrum when the whole point of the scrum is a fight for the ball. I'm like, why are we taking one of those kind of fundamental aspects out of it? But it will remain to be seen how what it ends up look like and what it ends up doing, to be fair. But
I will wait when that happens for the first team to realise what you do is you put your centre in that scrum half, your big solid centre. He picks it up from the base of the ruck, runs off the back of the ruck, and then you've got your whole back row supporting him, creating a maul, and you'll just push away up the pitch because you're going forward. The opposition are going to get all the way back round. You set up a maul, and you're probably 4-on-2 in a maul. You're just going to get easy yards up the pitch. Because you can't stop at source.
They're probably they're probably just trying to make the game quicker, but it is ruining the actual technique of having a scrum. So I was just saying I kind of like the idea because there's some scrum halves that really annoy me when they do that. They go right past the line, and the referee's warning them, and they're still in there like trying to slap and trying to kick. So yeah, I get it. It will ruin the game.
I get it from the perspective of like, but at the end of the day, like if you aren't annoying, then you shouldn't be a 9. That's always been the thought process, right? You're supposed to be like Lee Dixon was the most at the time he played was probably the most annoying 9 when it came to doing things around the pitch, right? He sometimes used to annoy me, but used to be like that's a fundamental aspect of kind of what they're doing as a. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not sure it's going to necessarily influence us in terms of our attacking game because we get it in and out and we shoot off the line anyway. But it'd be interesting what kind of happens from a defensive standpoint, and that's just that across the board. But we've gotten really far away from the game again.
yeah. Anyway, yeah. Did anyone else stand out for you? From
you mentioned him. You mentioned him. You mentioned him earlier, and I just want to say again, like I thought Hafar, like around the pitch for those first 20 minutes, just everywhere, ball in hand, making meters, making gains. Like I think he's going to be a really really good prospect, and obviously I think someone said Iogan was in a boot, so that's not necessarily long term, but certainly not an immediate return to action. So we're going to need him. So hopefully we can get if you can put some more of that, take that 20 minutes and extend because I think I'm not saying that anyone went bad individuals necessarily because the team kind of dropped off a bit after 20 minutes. Some of them kind of then struggled to keep up their own momentum when the team is struggling a little bit. But yeah, I still think the future is very bright. At the end of the day, we scored 35 points, got within 10 points of a French team in France, in Europe, got what could end up being a really, really important point. And as we kind of look ahead to Munster, if we can get 5 points there, we are top of the pool.
Yeah, so that leads us nicely into the Munster game because, like you say, we're top of the pool. If we can get a bonus point win against Munster, that's a big if, right? If we can do that, we're in a similar position to we were last year anyway, with two home games potentially.
Yeah.
Depending on how our results go, which that fires you into a really good opportunity to go far in the tournament. Because you got to back ourselves against anyone. We're our best team at home.
Yeah, definitely. And then I mean, like you said, because we won't have won, there will be at least a few other teams that will end up winning all of their pool matches. So that kind of home semi-final is already gone realistically. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily it's a big if to get 5 points against Munster. Like I didn't watch the Munster Saturdays game because I was still in France, but from what I said, it was very much not very good from either of them, and Munster just kind of ground out. I saw a lot of people saying there wasn't anything that made them think they were inherently worried. And I think the one thing we can always do is put 4 tries on the pitch. And so I'm confident. I feel, I don't know if I necessarily say I'm uber confident of a win over a loss, but I'm confident that if we win, it would be with 5 points. It's just the actual win that's maybe a question mark.
Can we not still get a home semi-final? If we win our
you'd have to qualify
top of our pool, surely. If we finish top of our
yes, but it means we will end up most likely being ranked 3rd or 4th, just because other teams in at least 2 other pools are already on 3 out of 3 wins and are probably going to be on 4 out of 4. We have to basically qualify in the top 1st or 2nd position, and I don't see how that's possible based on what's happened in other. It may do, some random fluke might happen, but there are some pools where you look at it and you see who's playing this weekend. It's like, oh well, that team's definitely going to top their pool with 4 out of 4. Because we got 4 out of 4 wins last year, and we 3rd, I think.
Second.
So we didn't, right?
So we got.
So yeah, I don't.
I think we were 2nd anyway. So we ended up losing that. We didn't get the home semi or the home country semi, which is just a farcical situation.
But getting into the top 4, but qualifying top of your pool and basically coming 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th will guarantee you a 2 home matches in the round of 16 and the quarter. So that's still on. So there's a big. And so I think, like I said, I think if we win, we will get 5 points because I think we'll score 4 tries. It just, like I said, it depends what's happened with injuries, what those players are all feeling like. I am still confident of us at home against Munster, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all depends on the weather and the way the game goes.
Yeah.
if it becomes a stodgy, physical, set piece driven game, then obviously it sort of plays into their hands a bit. That doesn't mean we can't win, but it might mean we struggle to get our game on the pitch. If we can get our game on the pitch, get that forward pack running, then and also it also depends on what team you put out. But if we can get that happening, then we can, like you say, put on a good hopefully good result.
I mean,
3 degrees and no rain. 3 degrees and no
rain. Cold but dry, and dry is always the key thing for us, isn't it? Really, I don't think the temperature really bothers us too much in terms of that. But assuming that stays this, assuming that stays the same though, that that should be all right. Like you said, and I'm always confident on us being able to get bonus points out of it. That game against Stad, when it became sort of clear that we weren't going to win, it was obvious we were still going to get a point, right? We still got 4 tries. Well, I think we ended up with what, 6? Can't do that.
At least 6. Yeah.
Well, it's 35, right? So if that's 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, was it Pollock times 2, Lockett?
Yeah, but we got all 7 points for each of them, and we got 35, so it must be 5.
Okay. Yeah, that's also a point. Because Roy Hutchinson's goal kicking was sublime.
It was really, really good. Yeah, no, I'll grant that. There was one of them where I remember thinking, "There's no way he's going to get this," and then the flags went up, and I'm like, "Oh bloody hell!" Yeah, no, that aspect of his game was working really, really well. It's just like you said, and he's done it before. It's the kind of split-second decision, that kind of split-second, I'm going to kick it through. Like, I saw that their number 5 was going to charge him down before he even kicked it, and I was like, he must have been able to see him at the corner of his eye. The guy was humongous. But yeah,
he made his decision what he was going to do, and he committed to it. And that's to some extent that's what you want players to do. You want them to, make their decisions, read the game, and follow. Don't challenge yourself. Just go for it. You don't want them second guessing themselves. Problem is, 2 weeks in a row, he's probably should have second guessed himself because he got charged.
Yeah, and it feels like what makes people the best is their ability to like have a decision that they want to commit to, but they have that ability, that split second of I need to change my mind. We've seen Finn Smith and Alex Mitchell particularly do it loads of times, where they're going to get, sometimes the dummy's intentional, but sometimes you have a situation where they're going to kick, they clock something, and they just change their mind, and it's like a natural part of their game, which Roy doesn't really have because he's not, a 9 or a 10 who's having to make those decisions on a regular basis, so he can get caught out.
He's not a 10 though, is he? Give him his fair dues to him. He's not a 10, and he hadn't trained at 10 all week. So I know he might have played there as just in practice. Like,
I think he has done. Yeah, I think so far we've seen him play centre, full back, and fly half, and fly half is easily his third best out of those 3.
Well, it depends. I think it's one of his best positions in certain aspects of the game. Pulling the strings, attacking, he's phenomenal. And Dawson says he doesn't want players thinking on the pitch. He just wants them to go back to their DNA, to their training, and going through, and so therefore that's exactly what Hutch was doing, and that's why you got to love him as a player. And he's so bloody good. One of my favorite players, but sometimes they do need a little bit of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, he signed a new contract to stay, hasn't he? And I think that's fantastic news. Absolutely fantastic news. You wouldn't want to lose him, because I thought that it was a question mark at one point whether we'd be able to keep hold of him, just because he's not.
He's only had 1 year, because I think he signed last year as well, didn't he? Yeah.
I should imagine he's keeping his options open, because obviously 1-2 seasons ago he wasn't a regular. Last year, even when we won, he wasn't the regular starter, was he? He made most of his appearances sort of off the bench. Sometimes he wasn't even there at all. So. But this season's been a little bit different, obviously, just because he started off the season just absolutely barnstorming and got himself kind of back up there. So obviously he wants to stay now. But yeah.
I mean, he's played himself, even with the charge downs, he's played himself into being a starting player. I think every week.
Yeah.
He's just a flame. But anyway, back to months to come with a very different, different approach. They also come with Chris Boyd, which is interesting because. Obviously, he's there as a consultant, and the first thing he did when he came to Saints was just change the way we played into a game of space rather than a game of contact. But I mean, I don't see that with Munster. Munster haven't changed for 50 years, have they? They still play the same game.
Is he actually there though? Is he just not a consultant? He's not. Is he actually over there?
Yeah. Apparently, I think he's staying with Vesti when they come over. So I'm sure they'll have a good catch up after the game, etc. But yeah, he it's interesting. I think what he adds value to them isn't necessarily their team; it's what the setup behind. There's no reason why Munster can't be as good as Leinster at bringing talent through, and that's what it's about. That's what yeah, exactly. And I think that's where he'll add value to them. I think if I was in charge of one of the rugby unions, like Wales, for example, I would be getting Chris Boyd to come in and get those pathways and development working, because you can see what he did at us. He's phenomenal at it. Anyway, but yeah, and also, I mean, they've got one of the best players in the world, I think, Tag Byrne. He is sensational. It's almost undeniable he'll be starting for the Lions in the summer. So if they can keep him quiet, I think they've got a way to keep him Munster quiet. Then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there's definitely, like I said, I'm not even going to try and predict the team because there's just too many injuries and things going around that I'm not sure it's really possible to kind of know what their decisions are going to be. Because normally we'd have our obvious kind of first 15, but there's at least half of them, if not more. That
yeah, I suppose if we go through the options, I mean, the loose head's probably the similar two options. It's West or Hafar. Hafar played excellently well, I think. So
yeah, I think I think he's played himself into starting again.
Yeah, and you think of the hooker. I think
Langdon's start.
I think
Langdon should. I think he will.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't start away because I mean, obviously, Walker's come in and they've got to think about Langdon's minutes, and maybe an away game at Paris is the time to rest him. But yeah, you've got to start at home, haven't you? He is sensational. Davison, probably more than likely to get Big Trev going again. He's got one game and then he's got a month off or so. So get him fired up. Second row, I mean, please let's hope Timo or Coles is back.
Yeah, we need at least one of them back. Like, even if it's not both of them, like, obviously, like, head injuries are very difficult to kind of predict. It looked on the pitch like Timo's was more serious, just in terms of the immediate kind of, but that's not really how the brain works, and it doesn't necessarily mean anything. But yeah, we need at least one of them back. We just need a bit more. We just need a bit more muscle in there, and a bit more kind of an experience. Yeah,
I reckon Coles will be back. Timo was on way with the fairies, bless him. He literally didn't.
No, yeah, definitely, yeah. So hopefully we'll have Coles.
And then the back row is really interesting. I mean, Pollock's surely starting again, right? Whether it's at 7 or 8. I'd bring Pearson back in. Then he's not being called into that England squad, so he's get him in.
He'll be raring to go, considering he's missed out on that selection, definitely.
So therefore, for me, it's a conversation between Kemeny and Scott Young. Which one of those plays at 6? I mean, Kemeny was excellent at the Bath, like really, really good.
I think we've talked about it, but we've talked about it before, haven't we? That I really like, and I think Simon's the same. I really like the balance of a Kemeny, Pearson, Pollock, and kind of the way that they complement each other in that they do different things, and so it feels very complete. So that's who I would go with personally. But I also do see the potential kind of with Scott Young. The only issues I sometimes have about Scott Young is that once he starts giving penalties away, it becomes a consistent thing in his game during a match. So that would be my only question, because we don't want that really against any team, but you don't want it in a European game when there's a lot on the line and you need to keep that momentum going. I'm not saying that the others don't give away penalties, but it's certainly something that can be noticeable with Scott Young, is that he's a massive workhorse, but once the penalties start, they don't seem to stop.
Yeah, I think as well, like, one thing I'd say why I probably would bring him into this one is his maul defence. He's one of the best at just sticking his head in the right place, and also then he's one of the best at getting through and disrupting and getting on the ball. We turned over quite a few over the season, and he seems to be instrumental in those moments. Do you remember a player, Jamie Gibson, a few years back?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jamie Gibson was a really tidy, good player, etc. Had a lot of different aspects of his game, but his maul defence, in terms of his ability to get through a maul and get onto the ball so that we could turn it into a scrum, I've never seen a player as good at. It's like the weirdest skill to be excellent at. Like, I don't know where that comes from. It's just an odd, but he was unreal at it. And I think Angus Scott Young's got a bit about that, a bit of that about him. He seems to be really good at getting through and getting on those balls.
If we've got hardly anybody available at lock, play him at lock.
Yeah, although like I said, I think scrum might be key. And
but to say if we haven't got any locks, I'd rather, no offense to Ed Prowse, I'd rather have Angus there than Ed Prowse.
Yeah, but then you've also got like, for example, I would also be tempted to keep Lockett, despite. So I'd still be tempted that if you had Coles back, that's maybe who the pair.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There's lots of things. That's what I mean. Lots of things they can do. I mean, I think assuming that Finn Smith was only ill because he had a dodgy meal or something.
Yeah.
Your 9-10 is always a no-brainer.
Try snails.
Even if Alex Mitchell keeps giving yellow cards away, if you could stop that, it would be very much appreciated.
Yeah, I mean that one was obviously back of them all. I mean, it's almost like Mitchell don't even get him. I know you were trying to help, but just like don't get involved.
It's the one and the one that he gave away against Bath. Like both of them, I was like, "What are you doing? Get away from like."
Well, the one against Bath, he tackled with his nose, didn't he? And
it's your head, isn't it? It's your head. Your mate knocks it on. You're ahead of him. You're like, I need to pick that ball up. You know you'll get a penalty, but you pick the ball up. You can't help it. So it's the same. He's he's seeing a maul getting pushed over our line. He's like, I've got to try and stop that. So he's just tried to get in there, even though he probably hasn't done no effect whatsoever.
Well, he tackled it to the ground.
And then there was and then
I mean, normally for his weight size, but he did. He went straight in the side and pulled it down. Yeah, but you can't do that.
And then I think there was he'd also given one away, maybe the game before that, or definitely recently, of just diving straight on and playing the ball on the floor like within, and I was just like, Alex, you watch it on the big screen, and I get sometimes it's an automatic reaction. It's the same thing sometimes when you see like a deliberate knock on. It's just your brain going, oh, ball must stop, exactly. And you just do it. And sometimes you watch what Mitchell is doing. It's like, just walk away.
It's the moth to the flame, isn't it? It's like, I can't help it. Yeah, I gotta touch it.
Yeah. That diving on the ball as it's coming out of the ruck, right? Yeah, like you see it all the time, and you're like, what? Like players do. How thick can you be? Do you not know that rule? But then you also see it happen all the time, and it's never given as a penalty. Like the referees just sometimes just go play on. Like it's one of the most frustrating things because that happens a lot. A ball comes flying out, and a flanker will dive on it, and then they go, "Yep, good turnover." It's like, no, the ball's out. Like you died off. But anyway, so anyway, yeah. I mean, hoping things back, and then you're looking. I mean, I'm hoping
they didn't.
Hutch.
The media session didn't say anything to suggest that it was anything more than just he was ill on the day. Yeah. And then I'm thinking, I think your 11 to 15 is pretty much like, you've got Seabrook, right? Then you've got Hutch and Dingers, and then you've got Freeman, and you've got Ram.
Yeah,
I can't see how. No, they said that Hendy was a very serious doubt for this weekend. He's still in a lot of pain around his shoulder, so I don't even think they're gonna. Even if he's maybe just meets the threshold, I can't see them risking that for his kind of longer term. But it said he was going
to give him every chance to prove his fitness. So
definitely.
Read into that what you want, but you sort of don't take the risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially as when you've got a player who he basically says on a Wednesday in the middle of the week, literally a few days away from playing, he's a serious doubt and still in a lot of pain. It's like, maybe just leave that for 1 week. So I think if it was me, that's pretty yes, for me, like I said, Seabrook, Hutch, Dingwall, Freeman, Ram.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised. I'd be very surprised if they deviated from that.
You haven't really got another option, really, have you? To be fair, unless Slightome's fit.
Unless you've got like a Litchfield, if they wanted to do some rotation potentially, but
no,
I don't see why they would. So.
You got to pick your strongest side to qualify, haven't we?
Yeah,
we got to.
And I think it's it's one of those ones where it's been all this year. Last year we were so lucky with injuries to some extent, right? We pretty much had the same 15 almost week in, week out, and it was fantastic. This year we've had much more of a realistic season when you never really put in your strongest 15 on the pitch. There's always a couple missing, always, some of them, obviously we've had a few long-term injuries as well, but a number of players in and out, and you can't seem to pull that 15 together to really see where you're at. But if they went same again, I wouldn't be so disappointed. I think see some of these players, see where they're at. I know, you'd say you'd bring Coles in instantly. Of course you would, but I don't think Prowse was so bad. I just think
in the scrum it was, but line out, you could see the line out was awful.
But we
leading it.
Yeah, we can't have another line out like that. But I think that's more Lockett getting some of the calls wrong, and it's just the experience of it. And I think, like I said, he'll have learned from this week. Because sometimes I was just begging them to just go short. I was like, just throw to the person at the front just once, like stop.
Which they did when they threw Pollock up there and he actually caught it.
Yeah.
So like that, some of those ones, but that's the thing with those opportunities were probably there. Just think Lockett sort of maybe got into his own head a bit too much and wasn't quite pulling the right strings.
I think someone said we lost 4 or 5 meters out on our actual line. Like the game would have had a completely different complexion if we'd even made 2 or 3 of them, it can't afford to screw up, which is why I think maybe you'd be hesitant to throw Coles in, but if he's fit, but maybe that's what you need just to get a bit more kind of calmness and seniority into that line out. Just make sure it's functioning how it.
If he's fit, he's in. Gotta be.
Yeah, that I would say the same. Yeah.
I also think that shows, it's good for people to look at that and realise it's not just the hooker's fault. Like, it was clear it's a team effort, right? And some of Walker's throws weren't great, right? Some of the fault does lie with him as well, but a lot of it was the whole unit not function. It wasn't one man's problem, and it wasn't just Lockett's calls either. It was like sometimes Macau just out jumped the man. It was a bad option to maybe jump near him, but also he is just allowed to be good. So
exactly. But that's how it told with Langdon. So sometimes Langdon throws a dodgy line out here or there, but I thought his throwing was pretty much on point. It just was going to the wrong. But he was throwing it to who he was told to throw it to, and it just wasn't working. So that's why I would bring Coles in. But I think that's pretty much.
It's amazing to think start of the season you wouldn't have thought away to Parish you've got Walker and Prowse in a Northampton Saints team versus Stade Francais. Well, but shows the fluidity of rugby sometimes. Right, so predictions?
29-20.
Okay.
Only depends on the team. If Finn doesn't start and we play, it could be different. But I'm going to go 29-20 because it's a great game against Munster. They normally bring loads of fans over. It'll be a great atmosphere. It's sold out. I think we'll just edge it and hopefully get 4 tries.
I'm going to go big. Because I went big last time and it didn't work. So I'm going to try and manifest it. I'm going to go 38-19.
Okay. Very big.
I'm going very big. I'm trying to manifest it into existence because we've had a very, very close 1-point win and then a loss. I'm just like, we need some. I was
going to go lower. I was going to go a bit lower, but I thought now we need 4 tries. So
yeah.
Finn's kicking. I didn't want to knock too many off him, so that's why I went 29.
I'm sort of going to suggest that Munster are class act at just stodging out a game and pulling the worst out of it and keeping the scores a bit tighter than we'd want them to be. I think we will tear them up a few times. I think we'll probably get 4 tries. A few of them might be wide, so we don't convert. I'm going to go 24-16. I think we'll still win. I think we'll get a bonus point, but I think they'll just their Munster being Munster in Europe, they'll keep the score closer than they probably should.
Yeah. I'm more going of I'm more going do I think it's going to be that big? No, but I'm trying to manifest. I'm trying to use some of my magic powers to manifest a nice 5-point where we don't have to worry for 80 minutes.
I'm going miss 1 conversion and a Finn drop goal. That's what I'm going for.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I did. That's what I did for the 38. I went, we're going to get 5 tries, and Finn's going to do a drop goal because he feels like it.
I think
because he was missing and he didn't get a chance to do it against Stad, and he loved doing them in Europe last year.
Probably would have taken a few. That was the thing. It's like that management piece. But anyway, the thing is with Munster, it's just what they are one of Europe's stalwarts, aren't they? They're just one of the biggest. Yeah. Even though they're not particularly successful or necessarily the best 15 at the moment, experience just oozes out of that stadium. Like they could put 15 blokes out and still be you'd say, Munster a good team.
Oh yeah,
it's just they've got a personality, that whole club, that it's just they're one of the greats, aren't they? Really.
Yep.
Oh yeah, they always will be, definitely.
I'm glad it's at the Gardens and not Tobin Park, because that place is so intimidating. I don't know if you've been.
Yeah. I mean, we had them there last year.
Yeah, last year we were a special side. That was one of the greatest results in the history of the club.
It was so good.
This side has got to win away at Tobin Park in them yet. I think they're maybe a season or two off. But we will see.
That's what I meant. I'm glad it's here, not there. I think we would win.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a completely different thought process, isn't it? Away there.
It's I've been over there 3-4 times. It's absolutely mental.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, it's one of those ones, and like probably just a good finish on it. But like Europe has become, it lost its way a bit, but it has sort of come back again, and it's these away trips like to Paris or to Limerick, whatever, that just make it a special tournament, and it just creates memories because it's.
What you mean, Pretoria?
Yeah, Pretoria. Yeah, as Dowson says, good
Europe.
But anyway, brilliant. Thanks everyone much for listening. We'll see how we go, but please remember to follow us on social media, leave feedback, get in touch, let us know how we're going, and also one thanks to Jubel Beer, who have sent us a crate of beer to share, so we'll get that distributed amongst the three of us, and we'll let you know how it goes. But for now, thank you for listening. It's goodbye from me.
Goodbye.
Bye.